This employee training will be reviewing leaves, accommodations, and workers' compensation. The Leaves and Accommodations team, which operates within Human Resources, manages employee leave programs including FMLA, PDL, CFRA, unpaid leaves, bereavement leave, jury duty leave, and other less common leave types. The team also handles workplace accommodations related to disabilities and/or injuries, including requests for ergonomic equipment. In addition, we process requests for temporary out-of-state work arrangements. Lastly, we manage all injury claims, including student injuries, volunteer injuries, and workers' compensation claims. The following medical leaves are all job-protected leaves. FMLA, otherwise known as Family and Medical Leave Act, is a federally protected leave. Employees receive up to 12 weeks of job-protected leave for your own serious health condition, to care for a family member or designated person with a serious health condition, or to bond with a new child through birth, adoption, or foster placement. To qualify, you must have worked for your employer for at least 12 months and worked at least 1,250 hours in the past 12 months. CFRA, otherwise known as California Family Rights Act, is a state-protected leave. Employees receive up to 12 weeks of job-protected leave for your own serious health condition, excluding pregnancy, to care for a family member or designated person with a serious health condition, or to bond with a new child through birth, adoption, or foster placement. To qualify, you must have worked for your employer for at least 12 months and worked at least 1,250 hours during the past 12 months. PDL, otherwise known as Pregnancy Disability Leave, is a state-protected leave that provides up to 4 months of job-protected leave per pregnancy for eligible full-time employees. The length of the leave is determined by the employee's medical provider and commonly includes time before and after childbirth. If eligible, PDL and FMLA may run at the same time. If you need to apply for a leave, you will need to follow the following 4 steps. Step 1, reach out to HR by sending an email to the HR help inbox. The leaves team will then respond by sending you information regarding the process. Step 2, complete and return the leave request form along with the required supporting medical documentation. Step 3, the leaves department reviews the request, verifies eligibility, and determines the appropriate leave designation and confirms leave dates with the employee's supervisor. Step 4, a designation notice will be issued outlining approved leave dates, leave entitlement, and employee responsibilities. If you have been employed for at least 30 days, you may qualify for bereavement leave. Cabrillo Point and Pacific Coast offer the same bereavement leave. However, Mission Vistas is different. For Cabrillo Point and Pacific Coast, the schools provide employees up to 3 days of paid bereavement leave beyond sick or personal time due to the death of a qualified family member. They also provide 2 additional unpaid days of leave. If an employee has paid sick leave or paid time off, the employee may use that time during their unpaid leave. If the eligible employee travels more than 500 miles for bereavement leave, the schools will provide 2 additional days of leave with pay. For Mission Vista employees, the school provides employees up to 5 days of paid bereavement leave beyond sick or PTO due to the death of a qualified family member. In order to be eligible for bereavement leave, you must meet the following eligibility requirements. Death of a family member defined as parent, including an in-law and step-parent, spouse, domestic partner, dependent, sibling, step-sibling, grandparent, or grandchild. May be taken intermittently but must be taken within 3 months of the date of death of the family member. Must provide documentation of the death of family members such as a memorial notice, death certificate, police or hospital report, etc. Employee must have been employed for at least 30 days prior to the leave. In order to request bereavement leave, you must follow the following steps and in this specific order. Step 1, contact HR and your supervisor. HR will confirm eligibility and provide information about the required documentation. Step 2, once bereavement leave is approved, complete the request time off form, RTO, and select option number 3, bereavement leave. Step 3, your supervisor will review and sign the RTO form before returning it to you. Step 4, submit the signed RTO form to HR as well as the proper documentation required. Step 5, once the documentation is received, HR will notify you via email to submit your bereavement leave request in Paycom. Step 6, HR will forward your signed RTO to payroll and notify your supervisor to approve the leave request in Paycom. Employees who receive a jury duty summons must notify HR and their supervisor as soon as possible and provide a copy of the summons. If you are called to serve, you will need to submit an RTO form and select option number 7, jury duty, along with the documentation from the court confirming your attendance. The pay and time for jury duty reporting is different for salaried and hourly employees. Exempt, otherwise known as salaried employees, will receive their regular salary unless they do not work any hours during the course of a work week. If feasible, you are expected to work during your contracted hours before and after reporting to jury duty and during any breaks you are provided. If you do not work any hours during the course of your work week, you can elect to use paid sick leave, paid time off, or go unpaid. Non-exempt and otherwise known as hourly employees will be provided time off without pay. You may elect to use any available sick leave or PTO during jury duty leave or go unpaid. There are many other types of leave, which include military spouse leave, time off to vote, reproductive loss leave, military leave, civil air patrol leave, school activities leave, adult literacy leave, organ or bone marrow donor leave, school appearance or suspension leave, volunteer civil service leave or training, drug and alcohol rehabilitation leave, and time off for judicial proceedings and victims of crime. Please see the employee handbook to review the policies in full for these leaves, which include how an employee may qualify for such leaves and what documentation is required, if any. The following unpaid time off policy applies to exempt salaried employees. In the event an exempt employee requests to take time off but does not have enough PTO or sick leave to cover the entire time off, they will have to take the entire day off and be unpaid. The time off must be pre-approved by their supervisor. Salaried employees may not take part of the day off as unpaid and work part of the day, or use PSL or PTO for part of the day. Unpaid time off is full day only. However, if the exempt employee works part of the day and has enough PTO to cover the remaining portion of the day, they will receive pay for the entire day. If an employee needs to be off work, for example, they are missing a scheduled in-person student or program event like a park day, for a reason that does not qualify under the permitted use of paid sick leave, they will need to take the entire day off unpaid because PTO cannot be used for missing in-person events. For multiple unpaid days off, you must receive pre-approval. Approval is made at the discretion of the executive director. The following unpaid time off policy applies to non-exempt hourly employees. In the event a non-exempt employee requests to take time off but does not have enough PTO or sick leave to cover the entire time off, they may take the entire day or part of the day off and be unpaid. The time off must be pre-approved by their supervisor. In the event a non-exempt employee has exhausted their PTO, any additional time off must be pre-approved by their supervisor and will be taken without pay. For multiple unpaid days off, this is approved at the discretion of the executive director. In order to request unpaid time off, you will first need to identify if you are requesting a single unpaid day or multiple unpaid days. For a single unpaid day, you will only need to send a completed RTO form signed by your supervisor to the HR Help inbox. For multiple unpaid days, you will need to email the HR Help inbox seeking approval from the executive director. If related to a medical condition, you must provide a doctor's note. If approved by the executive director, you must submit a completed RTO form signed by your supervisor to the HR Help. Paid time off, PTO, can only be used for reasons that qualify under the permitted use of the PTO policy. For the policy in its entirety, please review the employee handbook. Below is a brief overview of the permitted use of the PTO policy. PTO days may be used for vacation, personal time, illness, or time off to care for a family member or dependent. PTO must be scheduled at least 5 days in advance and approved by your supervisor, except in the case of illness or emergency. In the case of illness or emergency, you are required to contact your immediate supervisor at least 1 hour before your shift begins, if possible, or otherwise as soon as practical. Employees using extended PTO time in excess of 3 days should submit a request at least 2 weeks before the extended PTO via sending an RTO to their supervisor, or if used as sick time, the employee may be required to submit a doctor's release upon return to work. For both non-exempt and exempt employees, vacation time may be taken in minimum increments of 0.25 hours. Unless used for illness-related purposes, PTO may not be taken the last week of the school year or on scheduled in-service and or training days, testing administration days, or immediately before or after holidays without supervisor's permission. Paid sick leave, PSL, can only be used for reasons that qualify under the permitted use of the PSL policy. For the policy in its entirety, please review the employee handbook. Below is a brief overview of the permitted use of the PSL policy. To take time off for diagnosis, care, or treatment of an existing health condition of the employee's family member, or a designated person. For purposes of this policy, a family member means a child, parent, spouse, registered domestic partner, grandparent, grandchild, sibling, or a designated person, the child or parent of a spouse of the employee, or those related to the employee by blood or affinity equivalent to a family relationship. Child means a biological child, a foster child, an adopted child, or a stepchild, a child of a registered domestic partner or a legal ward, or a child of a person standing in loco parentis. Parent means a biological, foster, or adoptive parent, a step-parent, or a legal guardian of the employee or the employee's spouse, or a registered domestic partner, or a person who stood in loco parentis when the employee was a minor child. Spouse means a legal spouse as defined by California law. Designated person means a person identified by the employee at the time the employee requests paid sick leave. The employee may only designate one person per 12 months period for sick days. For family emergencies, employees may use up to 2 sick leave days up to 16 hours per school year. PSL can only be used for qualifying reasons. If they have disclosed any other reason for their absence that does not qualify for PSL under the permitted use, they must go unpaid or use PTO if it is available and the time off qualifies under the permitted use of PTO. As a reminder, if you are absent from work for 5 full consecutive days or more, you will be required to provide a doctor's note clearing you to return to work before returning to work. PSL is entered in Paycom, and if you are absent for 5 or more days, you must also submit an RTO. A reasonable accommodation is a way to help an employee perform their job safely and effectively. Each accommodation is reviewed individually through an interactive process between the employee, HR, and their supervisors. In compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, and the California Fair Employment and Housing Act, FEHA, employees may request reasonable accommodations if they have a medical condition or disability, pregnancy-related limitations, a religious belief, or other qualifying situations protected by law. If you would like to request a workplace accommodation, you can do so by reaching out to HR by sending an email to the HR help inbox. Here's what you can expect next. The team will then respond and send you information regarding the next steps in order to initiate the interactive dialogue process. You will then have 15 days to submit supporting medical documentation. You can request additional time if needed. The department reviews the request and continues the interactive process via email and or meetings to identify whether or not a reasonable accommodation is available. An official determination letter will be sent along with an email outlining whether a request is approved, denied, or modified, and the specifics of how it will work going forward. Workers' compensation provides benefits if you experience a work-related injury or illness. This includes sudden injuries at work, illness caused by work conditions, and repetitive or cumulative injuries over time. If you are injured while working, please be sure to report the injury to your supervisor immediately. In the event of an emergency, seek medical care right away. Report the injury to HR to complete the required workers' compensation forms, and lastly, stay in communication with HR during recovery. Prompt reporting helps ensure you receive the benefits and care you are entitled to. Please refer to the Employee Handbook for complete information regarding leaves, workers' compensation, and accommodation policies. This training provides only a brief overview of the options available to employees and does not cover the full scope of these policies. For detailed information, please review the Employee Handbook, which can be found on the SoCal Collab site. If you ever need time off, have a medical condition affecting your work, or experience a workplace injury, contact HR as soon as possible. Early communication helps ensure that you receive the correct support, protections, and benefits available to you. We can be reached at the HR Help inbox, or you could reach out to one of us directly.